divorce is bad, but sometimes divorce is good. And that's the message that this movie tells me.
Wow, what a shocking, a pro-divorce movie. How many pro-divorce movies are there?
Not a lot.
Wild. This was the original, like, screenplay, had this is the ending, and they were like, we can't do a pro-divorce movie, so they paid a bunch of other writers to write different, come in and rewrite the ending, and it was, like, of them getting back together, or of them whatever, and then at the very end, they're like, we can't do that. We can't have Sally Fields, like, be like, oh, just kidding, I love you, Mrs. Doubtfire. Like, that just doesn't make a lick of sense, so they just eventually went back to the original script, which just makes sense.
Did you know this was based on a book?
I didn't.
Yeah, it's based on a book.
I didn't know that.
Strange.
At all.
So weird.
There's a whole book about this?
Yeah. It's pretty true to the entire film, or the film is true to the book, so.
That's wild.
Yeah, I'm not sure who wrote this, what dad was going through a divorce, or what mother was going through a divorce.
I think it's written by a woman.
Yeah.
Because what man would... This is kind of a men's rights movie.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
This is kind of
And fine. Written in 1987.
Damn, I bet you were going to say, like, 1887. Like, It was, like, an old, like...
It's called Madame Doubtfire.
Madame Doubtfire. Oh, isn't it, like, Alias or something? It's, like, Alias, Madame Doubtfire.
Couldn't say.
She's a spy. That's the sequel.
I hope so.
But this is, like... Do, like, husbands of divorce in the 90s, did they, like, really get a kick out of this movie?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. But
we're kicking off. We have a super niche theme this month. So last month we did listener suggested movies, which is about as broad as you can get. But a listener who's also a good friend of mine was like, she's the man. And I was like, that's a great suggestion. Why don't you come on and be a guest, which we'll be doing later this month. But I was like, she's the man. We could do a whole month of just people doing disguises. Originally, it was going to be like disguising as like the opposite gender in order to get into hijinks, which is like a lot of movies.
Even more niche, though.
But we're going to just do like disguises / like specifically like gender bendy disguisey hijinks movies.
Yeah.
And we're kicking it off with, I think, what everyone would consider to be the premier gender switch costuming kind of film. Mrs. Doubtfire, 1993, Robin Williams, rest in peace. Directed by Christopher Columbus.
How fitting.
Whose production company is called 1492.
Oh, God.
Like... First off, if your last name is Bonaparte, don't name your kid Napoleon.
Yeah.
Like, that's just step one. So if your
Don't be a dumbass.
If your last name is Columbus, maybe just, like, don't name your kid Christopher.
Just call him Frank.
But if you've been stuck with the full title of Christopher Columbus, don't lean into it. Like, don't be like, I'm gonna name my movie production company after the year America was colonized. Like, no. Quote-unquote discovered. Yeah. I'm like, bro... But he directed the first 2 Harry Potter movies, as well as the Percy Jackson movie, and Home Alone.
Okay, that all checks out.
And he wrote the scripts for Goonies and Gremlins. If that
also checks out.
If that puts anything into some perspective. Chris Columbus.
Chris Columbus.
And this is Robin Williams' first time both producing and starring in a film. This is our podcast. It's called The Swamp.
By the way.
It's an acronym.
Stands for Some White Gas Movie Podcasting.
Oh my God, this is like the 9th time in a row now that Emily has like slid a piece of paper across the desk to me, like passing me a note in class while I'm like monologuing. Intro, question mark. God, I'm such an idiot.
I trust that most of you have been here for long enough by now that you know what you're listening to, though. But if you haven't, this is our podcast. I'm Emily. This is Dara.
I'm Dara.
We're here to talk about some movies.
Yeah.
And this week is the pro-divorce movie.
The pro-divorce. Honestly, this movie kind of subverted my expectations in more ways than I was expecting it to. Because I think the classic, like, sort of super tropey 90s rom-com-y corked up movie that this is basically the poster child for is like, it would have ended with them getting back together.
Yeah.
It would have been, she was like, oh, like, I'm mad at you for a second, but now I realize, like, all of the appreciation I had for Mrs. Doubtfire was, like, really appreciation I had for you. I kind of like that it ended with her being like, I'm bringing your ass back to court.
Yeah.
Like, that is home invasion. That is violation of, like, a custody agreement.
Yeah.
That is...
I would love for someone to give me a count of the amount of laws that Robin Williams broke in this movie, and then he had the gall to be like, but I love my kids, you can't do this. Yes, they can.
And I kind of liked that the judge was like, that, like, you can say whatever you want to say, but you cannot change the fact that you, like, impersonated a nanny and, like, broke into your wife's house.
Like, dog, you did some fucked up shit.
So true. But I consulted with the official lawyer of the swamp, my cousin Erin, who's an immigration lawyer. So naturally, I was like, you know all about divorce law, right? And she was like, well, in the context of the, you know, what is true in Mrs. Doubtfire, like, yes. Basically any person with internet access can figure that out.
Okay. But what did Erin have for us?
Erin basically said that typically, you know, it depends state to state, so it's not like across the board, but it basically is usually if the dad like is fighting for custody or asks for custody, they usually will grant it in some capacity. Minimally, mostly it's the every other weekend, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
my parents are not divorced, but like, you know, when you have,
neither of us are children of divorce here.
No, but if you know, I feel like I had a lot of friends growing up where it's like, oh, gotta go to my dad's for the weekend. Like that's the typical every other
standard
weekend go to your dad's house thing, right? As since the dawn of time, I feel like that's the typical divorce.
Which is terrible, but also...
Yeah, which also, like, not me joking that this is, like, a men's rights movie, but also, like, men do get gypped a lot out of custody agreements. Like, you know, feminism is for everyone, you know? I think men do deserve to have more leeway and rights in, like, custody battles, because they usually do just get defaulted to the every other weekend thing, where movies like this, where I guess if you are a flawless father, like Robin Williams is, that you probably do deserve more than... But so he only gets visitation on, like, he gets, like, Saturday nights for, like, a couple of hours. Yeah. Basically, like, once a week for, like, dinner time, basically, he gets,
When it was like a temporary
They said 90 days until you get a job and get, your
solid residence.
Living situation, which they seem to be doing this hearing, like, the day after she booted him out of the house. I'm like, okay, well, give him a second to get on his feet. I was kind of pro Robin Williams at the beginning of this movie, but then, because, you know, what's he supposed to do? But swamp lawyer Erin did say that a better example of divorce in film is the Night at the Museum movies. How, if you recall those, Ben Stiller and
I thought you were gonna say Kramer versus Kramer.
Kramer versus Kramer is really the most pro-divorce movie that there is. No, but that the son in Night at the Museum, that they explain how, like, he wants to see his dad more, but the mom is more concerned about, like, the dad not having, him not living close enough to, like, where the kid goes to school or whatever. Or, like, things like that, or what would maybe make sense. But it's like, if a dad wants to see the kids, they usually, like, let him in some capacity. Which then the follow-up court hearing where they're like, you can get supervised visits for, like, 20 minutes, you psychopath.
Like, yeah, valid.
Please get help. I'm like, okay, well, that checks
Reasonable.
out. I didn't ask Aaron about that because I figured, like, what are the legal implications?
Well, he should be in jail.
Yeah.
Robin Williams is so fucking lucky that he didn't end up behind bars.
That Sally Field, like, was super into Mrs. Doubtfire as a housekeeper. Like,
she was like, fine, I'll do the bare minimum.
But the way that, like, he was, like, asking her about her sex life, that would have been the last straw for me. I would have been like, you cooked me meals and did my housework and was like, you took care of the kids, which is, like, all great, but, like, the emotional manipulation, he male manipulated the shit out of her. And I think this movie, like, okay, so if we want to get into a recap, basically just Robin Williams and Sally Field are married. She's the corporate work mom. He's the fun voice actor dad. He basically is just playing himself in this movie, for the most part. And she wants a divorce because she's like, you can't really hold down a job, and you just are all, like, fun joking all the time and like,
you're not serious.
Yeah, and like I need to be married to an adult, like not a child. And also she like feels like she's like the bad guy all the time and in their like family dynamic. So she's like, I want a divorce, get out right now. Which also I'm like, can you like at least let him sleep on the couch?
Can you chill?
Like, I'm no marriage counselor, but I thought Sally Field needed to take a chill pill at the beginning of this movie. I was pro Robin, anti Sally at the beginning, but then I very quickly swapped sides because then he decides that instead of using his 90 court-appointed days to
mind his business,
and he does the things. He gets an apartment and he gets 2 jobs. Well, one real job and one fake nannying job, but he gets a job, right? So he has the 2 things. So he basically could have just chilled and gotten the probably bare minimum every other weekend, but he could not have settled for that. So he decides to go to his brother, Harvey Feinstein, who's a makeup artist and basically makes a silicone face mask so that he can pretend to be an elderly British woman named Mrs. Doubtfire, who comes and applies for the nannying position because now that Sally Field is divorced, she has all this housework and she's such a girl boss that she doesn't have time. So she needs a housekeeper to like take care of the kids because that's what Robin Williams used to do, I guess. Also, why is he like a voice actor in San Francisco?
Couldn't say.
He needs to get his ass out to LA.
Like, no wonder he doesn't have a job.
Yeah. He's also, like, doing voice acting for, like...
cartoons from the 50s.
For cartoons from the 50s, but for cartoons that are, like, already animated, I don't think that's how voice acting works. He's also voice acting for every character in the scene.
Yeah.
He was, like, he was Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
Which, like, didn't make any sense to me. No. Which I'm like, if you are that esteemed that you can do, like, on
everything
post-animated every character, they're like, you can't be doing improv. And I'm like, well, you already animated it. So, like, what...
Anyways.
But so he's gonna be Mrs. Doubtfire. He comes in and basically he's like, I need to spend more time with my kids. But he doesn't tell the kids at first. He just pretends, which I'm like... I feel like at least the 2 older ones, which they find out eventually and they, like, keep it a secret. But I feel like from the beginning, I would have been like, hey, shh.
It's me.
Like, maybe not the little girl, Mara Wilson. I could maybe understand that, but he basically puts on this big act, and it's all the hijinks of, like, he doesn't know how to cook, so he sets his bosom on fire. Oh, it's so funny. And then eventually, it all comes to a head where he has an appointment with this big TV producer guy to, like, interview about being on a show, and also a family dinner where he's supposed to be Mrs. Doubtfire with his family, so he has to go back and forth, and he's, like, changing in the bathroom and running. Did this movie invent this trope? Or was this a thing?
I don't know.
I feel like this is a thing they must have done in, like, silent films or something, because it's, like,
probably,
so easy
I think so, yeah.
But I feel like since the beginning of comedy, it has been, like, a thing of, like, I need to be 2 places at once. Or, like, I'm on 2 dates at the same time, and I need to run across the restaurant, like, thing, you know, that whole idea.
Definitely not the first to do it, but I will say that I think watching that scene as a child was the first time I experienced anxiety.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't watch this movie a lot as a kid.
I watched it probably once or twice. Not a lot, but like enough to remember it. But anyways, the movie basically kind of ends up Robin Williams at court. They're like, you're insane. Court-ordered visitations for 20 minutes. And then Sally Field has a change of heart when she sees that he's doing his show as Mrs. Doubtfire. And then she's like, okay, you can just nanny the kids as a man.
As a man. I also, again, for subverting my expectations, I fully expected him to show up in the outfit.
I wish.
Like, him being like, I'm gonna, like, show up, which wouldn't have made an ounce of sense.
It would have made me giggle, though.
But if he's like, I'm gonna show up and be your nanny, but, like, just so in case the, like, social worker shows up. But everyone knew that that's, and now he's, like, a TV personality, so that doesn't make any sense.
No.
A lot of this movie doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm shocked.
No.
A mostly improvised comedy movie from 1993 that doesn't make a lot of sense.
This movie was also so homophobic and so transphobic. It was, like, insane.
I knew it was 1993, and I didn't watch this movie a lot as a kid. We didn't, like, own it in my house, but it was one that would be, like, on at a friend's house or something. Like, I, like, definitely saw it in passing.
It's classic enough, you know what I mean?
it's really widely considered to be like a family-friendly movie, or like a
not.
family. It has so much sexual jokes.
Yep.
Like they I'm pretty sure they flat out, it's rated PG-13, which I guess is like fairly honest, but like the way that I'm sure this was fully on and shown to me when I was like sub 8. You know, was like wild considering the amount of jokes, but also so much straight up homophobia and so much transphobia, which conceptually,
like, obviously it's 1993. Like, of course that's going to be like the entire bit, but
the extent
like
of,
they beat it to death,
right? The extent of the transphobia wasn't even just like him dressing up as a woman for this specific thing and then like making some like passive jokes about it or whatever. Like him being caught standing peeing is basically like he's dressed as Mrs. Doubtfire and he's pissing and the son walks in and basically is like freaked out, which is also like a super weird scene because they're like immediately like, we need to call the police, and I'm like, what, you don't like,
they're ready to beat him
yeah like literally
with a tennis racket
and like very immediately like commenting on genitals, and I'm like, I just don't think, I mean, obviously in real life that is not how that would have gone down, but that I think that would have been like the reasonable extent to the outwards transphobia, but there was like an entire montage of him like pretending to call her as other nannies, and like several incredibly transphobic jokes came up during the makeup scenes, just like so unnecessary. And for a movie that is supposed to have like dressing up as the opposite gender in like a fun way, kind of thing, like base to it, and like, you know, Robin Williams so like lighthearted, funny, like to have those like weird jabby undertones was so strange. And then the two sides of like so much homophobic jokes as well, which again, early 90s, like I know it was in everything, but they also have like a fairly competent for the early 90s portrayal of a gay relationship that the family seems to like regard as like loved and accepted members of their family. Like I know they call them like Uncle whatever and
Uncle Joe and
Aunt Jackie or whatever, but that's not even really like played off for jabs. That's more just like, oh, that's what we call our two uncles,
which is so funny. I love that. That was like so goofy. I was like, oh my god.
But like the fact that those two characters were fairly prominent and their like queerness was not like hidden, was so weird then to then immediately turn around and like make super homophobic jokes and not even really at their expense. It's not like they were like making
like
fun of
talking shit about these characters. It was just
like weird passive like homophobic jokes, which just it was so weird, but it just like tonally did not make sense. But again, it was the 90s. But that whole, I wrote down, I was like, I did not remember this movie being so transphobic, but I also definitely would not have picked up on that when I was 8.
You're not literate in that way.
I also definitely have not watched this movie in over a decade.
Me neither.
Or like 15 years.
No. One of the things that really rubbed me the wrong way about this movie is like, okay, obviously it's the fact that Robin Williams gets no real, repercussions for his insane behavior. Which is just, which is exactly like another piece of media that I hate, which is Dear Evan Hansen. Like, tell me I'm wrong. You know what I mean, though?
What a specific through line of like
a man does something so fucked up and insane and so hurtful and traumatic to people, and then everyone is just like, nah, whatever.
But
we'll let him have it.
He said, I'm sorry. He made a big speech in the courtroom and he said, I'm sorry. Oh my god.
No, literally.
He sang a song about how social media is really hard. We gotta forgive him.
No, that shit irks me, dude.
But I also did not like...
But again, it was the 90s.
Yeah, but so I really did not love the way that this movie portrayed like the stereotypical gender roles of the two parents of like basically like she's the mom who works all the time and he's the fun dad. But he's never seen doing anything that we as an audience would be like, yeah, that's divorce-worthy behavior, right? Like he throws the big party for the son. and we see both sides of it because we're supposed to kind of respect that he does it. It's like, oh, mom said I can't have a birthday party because my grades aren't good enough. First of all, that's just not true. The kids with bad grades still were allowed to have birthday parties. Like, your parents, you would have to have fucked ass parents for like, oh, your report card was bad, you cannot celebrate your birthday. Like, that's fucked. So it's like, oh,
like,
okay.
Robin Williams, if that's the case, you shouldn't be married to this woman in general.
But so it's like, we're immediately supposed to like, oh, Sally Fields is like a fucked evil mother, right? And he's the fun dad. And basically she gets all mad at him for like throwing this party and like dancing on the table. And then immediately it's like divorce, right? And later in the movie they have the more serious discussion where she's like, I don't like the person I am when I'm with him. And we kind of get a little bit of insight to like maybe issues that had been brewing for a while. But like, overtly in the movie, we only see him being a fantastic father.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely lovely to his children who all seem to adore him. Like, they don't seem to have any, like, inter-family conflict other than the two parents, and then the kids are pissed at the parents for being, or pissed at the mom for being pissed at the dad.
Yeah.
Basically, like, resenting the mom. So we never see him in, like, a negative light until you can come to your own conclusions on how you feel about him invading into their home.
Yeah.
But, like, even...
but also as a kid, which, mind you, I was sitting there watching this movie and I was like, who is the target audience for this? Children of divorce. It's literally... if you are a child of divorce, please... when we post this episode, tell me if you, like, had a deep connection to this movie. Did your parents, like, make you watch this a lot?
If your parents got divorced specifically when you were between the grades of, like, 2 and 5, like, when you were between the ages, I'm gonna say, of 7 and 12.
Yeah.
And then if you also saw this movie during that time. Yeah. That's really specific, but you must have been the target audience for this because and also did this inform anything? Because it really makes it seem like you should resent whichever parent is like initiating the divorce, which is
it's like it feels like the entire movie was just trying to drive home like your dad loves you. Don't worry, like your dad loves you, like which might of course like makes sense considering that dads will usually get every other weekend kind of thing, like really trying to drive that home.
They are the ones who typically do get the short end of the deal, the short stick. Yeah. So, but which would then put the kids in the position to resent mom because they only get to see dad every so often, right?
Exactly.
Which this movie then like harping on that was so weird to me, and especially because we never see him.
Exactly.
Be bad to them.
Exactly.
Which then when they do grant him in the courtroom only like visitation or whatever, I'm like, that doesn't make sense because he's not abusive, he's not like unstable, he has no the divorce seems incredibly amicable. Yeah. Like they're basically just like, we are not working romantically as adults anymore. We need to but she seems to also be leaning into like, no, I want full custody of these kids and I do not want them to see you. Which like why?
I don't know. Like, it's just a really strange movie, like, at its core.
If you look into it beyond any surface level of, like, Robin Williams is wearing fake boobs. That's so funny. Like, other than that, if you even, like, use an ounce of media literacy to, like, think about the storyline, it's like, what the fuck is going on here? And I've got to say, I did not love a ton of the, like, slapsticky comedy stuff. No. It just doesn't really do it for me.
I think the only line that I really liked was...
when he got hit by the Guinness truck.
Yeah, literally.
So funny. It was the drink that killed him.
It's like, oh, no, so he was an alcoholic? No, he was hit by a Guinness truck.
Which is... So the only lines that I also agree that I really like were the clearly improvised moments. Yeah. That one was improvised. The cake in the face melting was all improvised. It's like clearly Robin Williams just like at his best and like rest in peace to a fucking legend. Why did I get a little emotional? I wasn't even fucking alive in the 90s, like for the most part. And still feel like that is like a celebrity death that was just so. I also didn't I guess trigger warning, suicide warning, Robin Williams did kill himself, but I also didn't know until fairly recently that he had like a really specific kind of dementia. Like Alzheimer's, that like, and that's what led him to suicide. I just thought he was depressed because I feel like so many people.
It's like, I think there's a documentary about it out now or something like that.
Interesting.
But I think his wife talked about it a fair bit and everything like that, and how, because I think it's like the type of dementia that it is will make you so hallucinate and like so fucking depressed.
Yeah,
like,
I was reading a little bit about it because I didn't know that was the reason, because I feel like when he died, I think in 2014, it was like very much that era that like people weren't like hadn't really gotten used to like talking on social media about like super serious shit like this. So I feel like there was a lot of like Facebook memes of like the people who smile the hardest are secretly struggling the most inside, like shit like that. So I feel like that's what
2014.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Mm-hmm. But so I feel like that's what I always equated to like the circumstances surrounding his death. So to find out that he was also like just had an incredibly serious illness was like kind of wild, because I feel like that was not talked about at all, at least from my perspective. I mean, I guess I was a teenager, so I wasn't like reading the news about it, but yeah, I feel like that's one of those celebrity deaths that you like really remember, like when it happened, like Michael Jackson, Billy Mays, Robin Williams.
Billy Mays.
Yeah, I remember where I was when I found out that Billy Mays died.
No, I remember Michael Jackson, but I had just gotten back from karate class.
Oh my god. Every time we get on these calls and I say, "Are you ready?" I feel like the beginning of the Zoe 101 theme song.
Are you ready?
Ooh. That's how I feel in my heart. Are you Team Chase or Team Logan? I'm starting off with chocolate or vanilla with a personal chocolate or vanilla. Team Chase or Team Logan?
Is Logan the one that was like, he like dated Quinn?
Yeah.
Yeah, Logan.
Yeah, and Chase was the one who ended up with Zoe.
Nerd.
Yeah.
Nerd. I don't fuck with a nerd like that.
I liked the cotton swab girl.
Love her. Mm-hmm. I like their RA.
Coco!
Coco.
Who always makes the meatballs. Can you tell that I've, as an adult, rewatched all of Zoe 101?
Yeah, you know the names.
It was like, I ran out of Degrassi to watch, so I was like, what's the next best thing? But it like doesn't hit as hard.
Jen, were you more of a Degrassi or a Zoe 101 person?
I was definitely a Zoe 101. I never saw the original Degrassi. I've only seen the new one.
Yeah.
The Netflix one, the bad one. Mm-hmm. Anyways, Jen is here. Sorry to talk about Nickelodeon shows. Jen is here. She's my mom. She's going to say two things. We're all going to say which one we like better. It's chocolate or vanilla. It's a game. She does it halfway through the podcast. It's so much fun. Jen, how are you?
I'm so good. How are you guys?
Not too shabby.
Pretty solid.
I did 8 hours of computer training today, so I'm super tired. Ew, I know. It's 2 4-hour sessions back to back.
Well, thank you for being here on your computer with us.
Is there a theme today?
There is a theme. So I went with what's Robin Williams most famous for? Voicing the genie. So you got to say which of these characters you like better, and they are both voiced by famous people.
Okay. Voice acting.
Love it. It's pretty Disney heavy too, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's all right.
So chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Vanilla.
Chocolate. Chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry?
Chocolate.
Vanilla.
Strawberry. I'm gonna go strawberry. First one is Milo from Atlantis or Stuart Little, both voiced by Michael J. Fox.
I thought you were gonna like quiz us for a second, and I knew that one, but I'm probably not gonna know some down the line. I would say probably Stuart Little, because I think it's more impressive to voice a mouse than it is an adult human man. So I think he probably had to like.
I think you're fucked up for that.
Really? No, I think if we're talking about voice performance. We all know how I feel about Milo. Go listen to our Atlantis episode if you want to know how I feel about Milo.
I just can't in my heart of hearts pick Stuart Little, so I'm gonna go with the nerd on this one. I'm gonna pick Milo.
I'm gonna go with Milo.
You're nerd bashing today.
Listen, I like this one. I take back what I said. I think Chase is just a really unlikable character.
True. Boring.
I'll go Milo too, because I really like movie Atlantis. Next one is both voiced by Christian Bale. Thomas from Pocahontas or Howl from Howl's Moving Castle.
We were just talking about this weekend. I didn't realize that he voiced somebody in Pocahontas. That is so wild.
I had no idea.
But he's pretty iconic to me as Howl. I know we kind of have differing opinions
we
on
clashed
this.
about that a little bit.
But what are you going to pick? The genocide movie? Or what you consider to be a subpar voice acting performance.
I do think I have to pick the subpar voice acting performance over the genocide movie, so I'll still go with Howl.
All right, I'm gonna go genocide and go with Thomas. I never saw Howl's Moving Castle, so I can't say.
Oh, Jen, it's so good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, and Pocahontas, while upsetting, is a beautiful movie.
You know,
Like visually beautiful.
sometimes,
Sure.
Jen, we have to let good art go for the sake of social causes. And I think that this is one that I'm okay letting go.
Yeah, I hear ya. Next one is Dodger or Oliver. So from Oliver and Company. Billy Joel or Joey Lawrence.
I was just gonna say, which one is Billy Joel? He's Oliver, right?
He's Dodger.
Oh,
He's
whichever
the
one
dog.
is Billy Joel, that's who I'm picking.
I have no idea what we're talking about.
You've
but-
never seen
No, Oliver and Company.
Oliver and Company.
No, I have no idea what that
It's
even is.
It's about Billy Joel got to do a movie.
I'll pick the Billy Joel role then.
I'll go with Dodger too. It's like a Disney remake with cats and dogs of Oliver Twist.
Sure.
Yeah.
But they got Billy Joel.
Yeah.
He's sort of the Elton John of Lion King
Got
of
it,
cat
got it,
movies
got
about
it, got it.
being an orphan.
Next one is Kenai or Turk. So Joaquin Phoenix from Brother Bear or Rosie O'Donnell from Tarzan.
Rosie O'Donnell as Turk,
Iconic.
so good. And I think that was one of the first like experiences I had as a child of like not knowing whether the character was a girl or a boy, but
Yeah.
and it didn't really get like you if you were a kid, it was like you didn't really pick up on it, but like you didn't really care.
Didn't really matter. Yeah.
And that's iconic.
Yeah.
Iconique. We love Rosie O'Donnell in this house.
That's my favorite non-binary character.
Turk.
Turk.
I'll go with Turk.
I'll go with Turk too.
Also, not to get all social justice warrior-y on this segment of Chocolate or Vanilla, but Joaquin Phoenix voicing a canonically Native American character to get all white voice actors to do the Native American movie. Okay, Disney. Virtue signaling my fucking ass.
Yeah.
Next one is young Simba or adult Simba. So Jonathan Taylor Thomas or Matthew Broderick.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas is child Simba,
Yeah.
and Matthew Broderick is adult Simba. And
Correct.
all of Simba's most iconic songs
Young
are
Simba.
him as a child.
Facts.
Ooh,
So-
good point. Good point.
So I'm gonna have to pick the child.
Yeah, I've got to agree with Dara on this one. I also just like when a child's acting is like really impressive. I'm a lot more, blown away than by an adult. I think he did a good job, like voice acting.
Wasn't there something though about how somebody else did the songs or something? Didn't somebody
probably.
else do the
So,
singing?
No.
Or is that a different movie
I think
with a
that's-
different child actor?
That was High School Musical.
Thank you.
It was Zac Efron and.
But he sang his own songs in the movie too, which is when it
Yes.
really counted because that's when we got bet on it. So
Yeah, facts.
it doesn't even matter.
I can't remember the name of that poor bastard who was
Oh my
actually the
god,
singer.
I know. He was in another Cinderella story.
He was.
Drew Seeley.
Thank you. Thank you.
Seeley.
That poor bastard.
That poor bastard, Drew Seeley. If you ever want to come on the pod, reinvigorate your fan base, my dude.
Next one is Scar, Mufasa, or the Hyenas. So Jeremy Irons, James Earl Jones, or Whoopi.
I have to go James Earl Jones. Although I love Whoopi Goldberg, James Earl Jones just has such an iconic voice and just has delivered so many iconic and unforgettable voice performances over the years that I think there are few you could put against him in the voice acting category.
It's true, but I'm gonna go Whoopi just because I love her.
I'm going to split it and go with Jeremy Irons because I think Scar is like the best Disney villain.
That
He
is true.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Next one is Mrs. Potts from Beauty and the Beast or Mother Willow from Pocahontas. So Angela Lansbury or Linda Hunt.
God, with all the Pocahontas
I know,
references
sorry.
today, Jen, it's on your mind. But I'm going to go with Angela Lansbury as Mrs. Potts.
Of course, yeah, classic Angela Lansbury for me as well.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Although like sidebar, you can edit this if you want, but Linda Hunt and Mel Gibson were in this movie in the 80s called The Year of Living Dangerously, and she posed as a male the whole movie. Like, so female posing as male theme.
Never heard of it, but we love a circle back reference.
Yeah. Next one is Mushu or Sisu. So the dragon from Mulan by Eddie Murphy or the dragon from Ryan the Last Dragon by Aquafina.
Aquafina.
Both of these are horrible.
Yeah, oh my god, like
I can't in good faith pick, like, Eddie Murphy.
I have my qualms against Aquafina, but I don't think she's murdered anyone, right? Like, so,
No.
but...
Eddie Murphy murdered somebody?
Eddie Murphy paid somebody else, like, paid a hit person, or, like,
Should I know
paid
that?
other people. It's pretty brushed under the rug. You've got to be pretty chronically online or, like, in the know. I think a lot of people don't know about it. But
Who did he have murdered?
he was seen with a trans sex worker, and he got caught by some tabloids, and then
Gotcha.
she wound
Yeah.
up dead in a ditch.
Like, days
Yeah,
later.
it's all coming back to me.
So, yeah, it's and it's a thing everyone just forgets about because, Eddie Murphy is so iconic. But I'm gonna pick him as Mushu over Aquafina as that dragon
It is
because
a better performance.
I saw that was the first movie I think I saw, like, post-COVID.
Same.
It was, like, the first movie to be timed correctly, that it was, like, we were all, like, vaccinated for just long enough for it to be chill. And I just remember being like, she can't voice act because it just takes me out of it so much. Because she does that voice in regular acting, too. It's not like, if that was a voice she was putting on for a character, it would be one thing. But it's like, that's just how it is all the time. And I can't. And the whole AAVE thing is a whole other situation.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, I had to be, like, a bit intoxicated to watch that movie. But
also super forgettable.
yeah, did nothing for me. So I am going to pick Mushu. Fuck Eddie Murphy, but, you know.
Same then. I also say F Eddie Murphy then if he did that, and I will pick Mushu because Mulan is a great movie. Not forgettable, that's for sure. Next one, Esmeralda from Hunchback, voiced by Demi Moore, or Jane from Tarzan, voiced by Minnie Driver.
Ooh, Jane's voice is pretty iconic.
Yeah, that, like, sticks out in my mind, like, when I think about it.
If I focus hard enough, I can hear it. Tarzan, what a good one.
Yeah, I'm also gonna have to go with Jane.
And I think I've obviously watched Tarzan more than I've watched Hunchback.
Yeah.
But I still, like, I can't put a finger on what Esmeralda's voice particularly sounds like, but I can definitely for Jane, for sure.
Yeah, I can hear it right now. Yeah, Minnie Driver.
Yeah, I would say Jane too. Last one is Phil from Hercules, voiced by Danny DeVito, or Kristoff from Frozen, voiced by Jonathan Groff.
No contest.
I know, Jen, I know what you're gonna say, but it's Danny DeVito as Phil. His song from Hercules is one that I will passionately do in my car to a performance level that I don't ever think I could deliver in front of another human being. But, like,
What song is that?
It's the one where he's training Hercules. He, like, is like, I'm gonna be your teacher.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. It's a very minor, I love the side character songs.
Yeah.
I feel like those are always the best ones in the Disney movies, when it's like, I'm a secondary character and I'm gonna sing some, like, what is it called? Like, when you're...
Prelude?
No, like pre-exposition, some exposition dialogue, like I'm gonna explain the plot so we don't have to show things. And I'm gonna do it in song form. Those are usually the best ones.
Yeah.
I think you're right, actually.
Yeah, it's obviously Danny DeVito for me.
I agree with everything you guys said, but I would always pick Jonathan Groff because he's so awesome. And that's it.
Well, Jen, you choose the Pocahontas choices, you choose the Jonathan Groff choices. We simply must agree to disagree. But that's the nature of the beast, baby. That's chocolate or vanilla.
That's CRV.
So thank you, as always, for being here, and we will see you next week. And if you want to watch these live, I post these separately as the videos on the episodes on the Patreon. So if you want to go spend $2.86 on the Patreon. You can watch these as little videos, and they're also separate from the episodes, so it doesn't necessarily break it up. It's something that you could also do on your own time. Anyways, Jen, thank you. We love you, and we'll see you next week.
All right, I love you guys. Have an awesome
Bye.
night.
Can we talk about two of the actors in this movie? Pierce Brosnan and then Mara Wilson?
Yes.
Okay. Pierce Brosnan was hot in this.
Pierce Brosnan was hot, and another thing that I think if this movie...
He was a good man.
If this movie was playing by the beats that I was fully expecting it to, he would have been a bad guy.
Yeah. He would have been like, I hate those kids, but I want to hit.
Right, yeah. Or like done something on the sly or whatever, but it's like, Mrs. Doubtfire wants to catch him, and she cannot catch him because he just is...
He's just a good guy.
He's just a good guy, right? Which it would have made sense for them for him to be like kind of like slimy or something, but it was so wholesome. Yeah. The only thing...
Which again, I think is them like trying to teach kids a lesson, like...
Your mom's
new boyfriend is not the enemy.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Damn, I did not even think of it that way. Yeah, so
and then
true. But
Robin Williams literally tries attempted murder.
Okay, I'm not gonna allergy shame anyone, but
Pepper?
The only thing that really gave me the ick about him in this movie is that he orders jambalaya, and then he's like, but don't make it spicy because I'm allergic to pepper. I'm like, order something other than jambalaya then, you fucking idiot. Yeah. And it's not even like that he ordered something to be allergy specific.
I'm like, is it black pepper he's allergic to? I don't understand.
I think, no, well, because he puts paprika in it, and paprika is just dried ground up red, like bell pepper, right? Okay. Which I think is a fairly common allergy, actually, like to be allergic to, like, bell peppers.
I think a lot, stuff like that, it's usually, like, pollen related and stuff like that. So, like, you'll see a lot of people are allergic to different fruits because of the pollen, but if it's, like, baked or if it's boiled or anything like that, all of it comes off and, like, they can eat it.
That makes sense. I also feel like a lot of allergies are also, like, you won't die, but you'll just get a little puffy or something. You know what I mean? Like, I have a lot of friends who are allergic to pineapple for some reason. Or
really?
Like, and they're like, I can still eat it. Like, my tongue's just gonna get puffy. But, like, I can eat it. It's just I'm gonna feel a little bit like, you know, like, just take a Benadryl after or something. You know what I mean? Yeah, I feel like that's the kind of allergy he had. Not to tell Pierce Brosnan what his situation is.
Oh, no, he almost died.
He didn't die because of the allergy. He died because he was choking on a whole-ass shrimp.
But also, did his throat close? We don't know.
If your friend is having an allergic reaction, do not give them the Heimlich maneuver. That is not what's going to help in that scenario.
He was choking.
That's the real lesson that kids need to take away from this movie, though, is that
make sure your friend has an EpiPen.
Right. And also, I think there's something about the Heimlich maneuver that's actually really dangerous, that you could break somebody's lower ribs. Yeah. So you're supposed to, I think, bend them over a chair.
Yeah. Yes, and I don't know, honestly.
This is not...
That's what you're supposed to do when you're alone and choking. Oh. Is you throw yourself over the back of a chair.
I just know if it's a baby, you hold it by its ankles. Because gravity. Right? This is not a safety tip podcast. Please confer with your CPR certified source before taking any of this information seriously.
But beyond Pierce Brosnan, Mara Wilson as little, I don't know what her name is. That's just Matilda.
There was Lydia was the older sister. Yeah. Matt Bacon, your roommate, was the middle brother. I just thought that the middle brother looked like Emily's former roommate. And then Mara Wilson, Matilda. Mm-hmm. So I feel like
she was such a good child actress.
So good.
Fair enough for her to like not be like doing it now because like child acting is so fucked. But like she was stellar.
She was 6, I believe.
Wild.
Which I think her character was 5 and she was 6. Which I think typically they cast like older kids who just look younger. Yeah. But I feel like she was the kind that you could tell that she was chops, like actually a child. But I feel like I've said this fact before, and it's like I feel so bad that every time Mara Wilson comes up, I just like say this fact because it's not like you are more than who your cousins are, you know. But Mara Wilson is cousins with Ben Shapiro.
Ew.
Isn't that so icky? She hate tweets at him. It's really funny.
I love that.
Her Twitter also amazing if you don't follow.
She's fabulous.
Or I'm sorry, X. Also, if you're out there and you're on Threads, I'm kind of against doing it, but if enough of you are on Threads, should the swamp join Threads? Let me know. I'd like a review from the people I trust, who are the people who are listening to this podcast 30 minutes in. So tell me about Threads, please. I don't feel like reading about it. Or because I've heard that if you make an account, you can't delete it without also deleting your Instagram. And I don't want to delete my Instagram, so I don't want to, like, risk it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
Yeah, Mara Wilson's so good. I totally forgot that she was in this, or, like, didn't, like, think of it until she popped up on the screen.
The entire time I was watching this movie, I was just thinking about how much therapy these kids are gonna need, and the insane trust issues that they're gonna have in the future.
They're gonna, like...
Everyone is fucking with them.
Oh my god.
Like, no one is, like, who they actually, like, present themselves to be, you know what I mean?
Or, like, honestly, if I was Robin Williams' character, at a certain point, I would have gotten, like, offended that they didn't clock me. Like, you don't even know your own husband/father enough to, like, I mean, obviously he was wearing prosthetics, but, like, it still kind of looked, you know, you can still see in the eyes.
Yeah. That's my dad.
That's like, I feel like a modern day Mrs. Doubtfire is that guy who just spent $20,000 to look like a border collie. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, that's...
His fursuit?
Yeah, but it's like, it's not even like a furry thing. He just looks like a real border collie.
What?
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. That's a fursuit, though.
Yeah. But it's not
it's not like the typical furry, like...
He's...
like, big head, like, almost like animated character kind
It has to be a sex thing, right?
Isn't it always?
Yeah. But I feel like the modern day retelling of Mrs. Doubtfire is like that guy. They adopt the dog, and it's the guy in the dog suit. He's like licking the kid's hands, and they're like, "Oh, we love this." But then eventually they see him pissing standing up, and they're like, "Oh my god, call animal control." Actually, I'm pretty sure this is the plot of the movie The Shaggy Dog, starring Tim Allen.
I have no idea.
Tim Allen always
doesn't he become the dog?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's a divorce story.
But might as well be. It's Tim Allen.
I was really thinking about this on the train today, and I feel like, because I was reading the IMDb facts, and they had a Mrs. Doubtfire 2 in the works for quite some time.
Gross.
And they basically were like, we don't really know. Obviously, it's a pretty succinct ending, right? Like, how do we continue the story, whatever? And so there was a script in the works, and then, you know, they sort of scrapped it, and then they got back to it, and it was supposed to be like, Mrs. Doubtfire follows Lydia to college to, like, spy on her or whatever.
Okay.
But Robin Williams hated it. He's like, this is stupid. And then he died, so they were like, well, we can't have somebody else play Mrs. Doubtfire. Like, that's fucked up. So they basically, the whole thing was just blown up. But I think instead of, like, if, you know how just everything's a remake these days? I think if they do sort of, like, a modern retelling of Mrs. Doubtfire, this is, I think, a really great way to get both sides of the political spectrum really involved. Is that it's like a crazy right-wing politician who thinks that the only way he can get anything done is if he infiltrates as a Democratic candidate. So, but he's like, everything is identity politics these days. So he's like, I can't run as a Democrat if I'm a white man. So he gets into drag and then runs as, like, a liberal, but then he gets assassinated. And then it's sort of the fallout. And I think that is, like, I think both sides could, because the Republicans are going to be like, oh, so true. But then also it's like,
Democrats are going to be like, yeah, fucking idiot.
Yeah, you got what, you know? So I think that we could really walk that line in a way that I think we could get both audiences.
You might be onto something. Who wants to write this for us?
And I think who should play the main character?
Someone young or someone older?
It has to be like a Ron DeSantis type. Like, it has to be like, it has to look like somebody's dad, but it also has to be somebody who can, like, believably be put into drag enough. John Hamm.
Yep.
John Hamm is gonna play the main role, and there's also gonna be like maybe like a love triangle but he is maybe like starting to like reform some of his beliefs because he like it's falling in love with a lesbian as a woman, maybe. Anyways, hit me up. Oh wait, we're supposed to be striking right now. Just kidding. Don't write anything. Get out on those picket lines. This is the kind of shit you're gonna end up with if you don't start fucking paying writers. Netflix is about to make my politically divisive Mrs. Doubtfire remake.
So I'm getting a call. Just 1 second. Hello.
Oh, John Hamm, you're willing to cross the picket line to star in my Mrs. Doubtfire remake?
Netflix, they are getting so desperate. They're like hiring like temporary writers and stuff like that. I saw for maybe not for Netflix and everything like that, but like for like the soap operas and everything.
Oh, Jesus.
Which is where it starts.
Those are like bad enough already.
Yeah, General Hospital is like gripping on for dear life.
I've also seen that they've been taking stuff off of Netflix that like are Netflix original, like that movie The Power of the Dog that literally got nominated for so many Oscars is getting taken off Netflix. So it's now just unwatchable, unfindable. Like certain movies, because I know that like they do this with TV shows sometimes that they'll just take them off and then they're like, they don't exist. You cannot watch this show anywhere like accessible anymore. Like you gotta go to the fucking deep web, which is just like, that should not be true for any piece of media. Yeah. Really.
Like, you should have access to all of it.
Yeah. For free. Just kidding.
No.
No,
I'm not kidding. But do we wanna... Should we jump in? Should we jump into our regularly scheduled programming?
Yes. So we're gonna fuck, marry, kill. I think it has to be Pierce Brosnan, Sally Fields, Robin Williams.
Yes, of course. I'm marrying Pierce Brosnan. Yeah. I'm gonna fuck Sally Fields because I don't think she's gotten it in a while. And then I'm gonna kill Robin Williams because he's fucking insane.
Yeah, they have a full like girl time conversation about like foreplay. Yeah. This is like considered a family movie. That's so weird.
It was like just cryptic enough that kids can't understand it, but like
that was like so the energy like when you were in middle school. Did you ever have Ask FM?
Yeah, of course.
Ask FM where you could like it was all anonymous messaging or like anonymous on Tumblr, but like I feel like not enough people were on Tumblr for that to be chill.
We had it in like our middle school and it got like brutal.
But Ask FM, it was like you have your page and it basically was like you just asked who people had crushes on and they just didn't answer, which is like, but it'd be like, what do you think of so and so? But I was always like, obviously you're the one asking that. I'm not going to anonymously ask how you feel about some other bitch, you know what I mean? I was always like, ugh, so desperate. Learn how to word your anonymous questions a little better, you dumb hoes. You non-Tumblr illiterate ass bitches. But I feel like that was the same thing of him being like, so tell me about your sex life.
Literally.
Also, like, why are you conversing with the nanny like that? She immediately right off the bat is like, you are my most trusted confidant. Yeah.
You could tell she has like no like girlfriends. Yeah.
Well, she's too busy girl bossing.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm gonna. As much as I want to be like, I'm gonna marry Robin Williams and we can do voice acting. No, I'm sorry.
There's nothing redeemable.
No, I'm gonna kill Mrs. Doubtfire, but I do want to like hang out with Harvey Fierstein.
Oh, yeah,
and have him like do that. Was as a kid the one thing from this movie I really remembered was being super into the like prosthetic makeup application scenes.
I loved that scene. That was also like pretty funny, like him doing the Barbara Streisand impression and all that shit.
Yep. I could kind of take her.
I was like, okay,
the leading up to it, like impressions and makeovers, but the actual
once you hit the Barbara one, I was like, okay.
The application of like prosthetic like face makeup pieces is just, why is that like so? That's my soap cutting. Yeah, it's like I want to see people put glue on their face. I remember as a kid that being the one part that I was like, I like that. And the part where the face falls out the window and like seeing it like flap in the wind.
You guys run over.
I liked that. But yeah, I'm gonna also do the same as you. I'm gonna, because I don't want to marry Sally Field because fuck them kids.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
I'm gonna give Pierce Brosnan the childless life he secretly wants.
Yeah, we can be like hot and sexy at his beach or at his like pool club.
But he also seems so boring.
Also, I'd take boring and hot over,
if you're allergic to pepper, how...
I'm just gonna feed you ice cream. Like you're getting a bomb pop for dinner.
I fully cooked myself a feast, and I'm like, babe, you can have your kibble. You can have your white rice. Sorry, is that too spicy for you? And then out of the whole movie, I'm gonna kill the guy who was hosting the dinosaur show, who they then made be the mailman. What a fucking demotion. Yeah. They're like, you used to be the host of the dinosaur show, and now you get to be the...
You get to do a cameo.
They basically, like, they directly reference Mr. Rogers in this movie, so we know that within the Mrs. Doubtfire universe, Mr. Rogers exists, and then they basically just make a show that is...
Mrs. Rogers.
Mrs. Rogers, down to the T with the puppets and the mailman, and I was like, I think Robin Williams doing the dinosaur show with the song elements... would have just been more successful.
Yeah.
Clearly this business meeting, not productive. Maybe
they were drunk, so.
I'll kill the studio exec, actually. And I'm gonna fuck the dinosaur man. Because if you can't kill him, fuck him. And I'm gonna marry... I want to be the third in the Harvey Firestein and Jackie
I agree. Yeah.
couple. And it's like totally just aromantic. Was it platonic? But I just want them to do my makeup. Yeah. I want to look like a scary...
I'm jumping right on that same train with you. I want to be in that relationship. I'm still going to fuck Pierce Brosnan. And then I'm going to kill... I guess the court-appointed, like...
Social worker.
Yeah. She enjoyed, like, ruining people's lives, like, a little too much. You know what I mean?
I was like...
Or no, I'm gonna kill...
The neighbor?
I'm gonna kill the neighbor. Yeah, I'm gonna kill the neighbor who's just, like, being a dick. And I get it, like, you have a bad neighbor, but also, like, you just ruined a marriage.
You just ruined a marriage!
You helped ruin a marriage.
Also, those animals were uncontained, though. I was like,
that's true.
One of them is gonna get hit by a car.
Yeah.
We're in San Francisco.
And then you're watching this movie with all of your friends. What are you going to serve them?
So, this is pretty, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this, but the scene where he, like, can't cook, so he, like, secretly orders takeout and then just plates it as if he made something. I think you do a reverse of that, and you take something that you would typically DoorDash, but you just make it yourself, but better. But so, like, me personally, the thing that comes right to mind is a cheesy gordita crunch from Taco Bell. Oh. They are so good, but you can also, like, if you make it at home and, like, doctor it up, it can maybe be better. But also, like, nothing beats, like, a drive-through TB when you need it most. But, like, to make a cheesy gordita crunch, hot tip is you, like, melt the cheese on the soft tortilla, like, really quick, and then you just wrap it around the hard one. And then you have the base layer, which is the soft tortilla cheese hard taco shell, and then you fill it with your shit, and you basically, like, have that, right? You're already halfway there to a delicious meal. So I think you, like, do your own at-home version of, like, whatever your, like, favorite fast food thing is. Also, like, get creative with it. I don't know. Fucking make Big Mac sauce. Cane sauce.
Cane sauce. Ooh.
Try your best to make cane sauce and then send me the recipe.
Please, yeah.
And then I didn't really even think of something to drink because I was just trying to think of, like, what is, like, a really, like, a masculine liquor disguising itself as a really feminine cocktail. But I think that to assign genders to, like, I couldn't even think of that. I was like, oh, what's like a whiskey sour? I was like, what's like a girly whiskey drink? But, like, I don't think of any, like, whiskey drink as being particular.
The peanut butter and jelly, like, whiskey drink.
But even that's for the boys too, though. Like,
have they claimed that?
That's for us all. That's America's cocktail right there, baby. But so I think you do what I did, and you just put some Baileys in your coffee because you're watching this at 9 a.m. on a work
Fair enough. I took the stance of the only people that I would want to hang out with in this movie is what's his name?
Harvey Firestein.
Harvey Firestein and his partner. So I figured, what are they going to make for me? Is what I'm going to make for my guests. And I think you make, like, nothing too crazy, food-wise, but I think as a drink, you make a painkiller.
What is that?
Coconut? A lot
Coconut?
of rum. Coconut. Hold on.
Pineapple juice?
Here, hold on. Let me see.
A painkiller.
Dark rum, pineapple juice, orange juice, cream of coconut, ground nutmeg. But it's like a lot of rum.
Yeah. It's like mostly rum with a splash of all those other things.
So you make a painkiller, and then I would say you're gonna have like a little like goat cheese, almond, like raspberry vinaigrette salad with bacon wrapped scallops as well. Ooh. Yeah, nothing too like crazy, but like also like it's like really hot and like a good little hors d'oeuvres.
That's like too good of a meal for this movie. I would feel
like... Yeah, well, I need something good to get me through it. You know what I mean?
So true.
And I need to be drunk by the end.
And what are you following it up with?
Matilda. That's the only reasonable answer.
That's a really good answer.
And that's a good movie. And it's a fun movie, and it's one that I actually want to watch and pay attention to instead of this.
That's true. And I would say my answer is the same. I think you watched the Hannah Montana movie. Because that is another example of our main character running back and forth between two destinations. She's Miley. She's Hannah. She's on a date, and she's Miley, but she's at the fundraising function, and she's Hannah. And she's back and forth. And you know what? It's an overdone trope, but I don't care. Because Miley Cyrus slays the house down boots. And, you know, if Hannah Montana the movie is ripping off Mrs. Doubtfire, then...
So be it.
So be it. Because she did it better.
What are you going to rate this movie? I'm going to give it a 3.
I was going to say, like, 4. It didn't... I get that it's, like, iconic...
It doesn't do anything for me.
I didn't care for it. The only thing that, like, brought me joy was some of the, like, really great Robin Williams moments. Yeah. But otherwise, like, plot-wise, this movie doesn't really make any sense. Even comedically, a lot of the moments don't really work for me. I'm not really here for, like, slapstick.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just needs to be a little more thought through than that. But you could tell Robin Williams was having a lot of fun. And obviously character acting is what he does best.
Of course.
So it did hold my attention in that way, that it was like captivating to watch him do this performance. But otherwise, it's just like, okay, it's in the dollar DVD bin at Walmart. Like,
yeah. Which is where it belongs.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So this is kicking off...
our month of disguises.
A disguise month. Also, thank you all who have sent in really good themes. We've gotten a lot of more movie suggestions as well as, like, month themes. So even if we don't end up doing your whole theme, like, I still write down your theme and all of your ideas. I have it all in a Google Doc. And so if you'd like to send us themes, and especially if you are a patron, and if you're not, you can be for $2.86. We have all of our episodes backlogged that we've done, like for probably the past, 7 or 8, we've done video, and moving forward, we will always do them video for you. So patrons will get video episodes as well as some bonus content. We did both Barbie and Oppenheimer episodes, as well as we made like a little video of us out on the town. But so if you are a patron, especially write in and let us know, because if you suggest something, we'll probably do it for you specifically. So definitely let us know what you think of that, and we love you all. Thank you so much for listening. All of our shit is in the description below. You know the drill. Goodbye. Good night. Don't dress up like the Super Nanny. Did you ever watch that show, Super Nanny?
Loved that show,
TLC?
Super Nanny.
Wife Swap?
Yep. Loved it. Classic.
Okay, this is now a TLC, early 2000s TLC TV show recap podcast.
Perfect. I have a lot to say about John and Kate +8.
Oh, have you seen this stuff recently?
Yep. Colin.
Wild.
Justice for Colin.
Goodbye and good night.